Hello everyone. Welcome to the Digitech Dialogue. I am Arpit Gupta. The Digitech Dialogue series is an initiative of ET Government, the Economic Times. This is an interactive show with bureaucrats and achievers on different milestones in their digital transformation journey. In this series, senior government officials give an insight of digital innovations and use of new technologies by their department or the ministry. Today, on behalf of ET Government, the Economic Times, I welcome Mr. Vinay Kumar Singh, Managing Director, National Capital Region Transport Corporation, as our esteemed guest for the Digitech Dialogue. It is indeed a great pleasure to meet you and have you on today's show, Mr. Vinay Kumar Singh.
Thank you. Thank you, Arpit.
Let me share with our audience, Mr. Singh is an Indian Railway Service of Engineers officer and the first Managing Director of National Capital Region Transport Corporation, called NCRTC. It is a joint venture between institutions like Central Government of India and states of Uttar Pradesh, Haryana, Rajasthan, and Delhi. Prior to this assignment, Mr. Singh served as the first CEO of High Speed Rail Corporation, a subsidiary of Rail Vikas Nigam Limited. He started his career in 1998 as Deputy Chief Engineer of Delhi Metro Rail Corporation, and he was the first officer who initiated construction of Delhi Metro on ground. Mr. Singh holds an MTech degree from the prestigious Indian Institute of Technology, Delhi. I once again welcome you, Mr. Vinay Kumar Singh, and I also welcome our audience.
Thank you, Arpit. Thank you.
Let's begin the conversation by asking the first question to you. My first question to you is, the National Capital Region Transport Corporation is mandated for implementing India's first RRTS, that is Regional Rapid Transit System project, across the National Capital Region. And it is also mandated to ensure a balanced and sustainable urban development through better connectivity and access. What has been the impact of COVID-19 pandemic in the ongoing project? Mr. Singh, over to you.
Arpit, when we started working at NCRTC in July 2016, from the day one, our focus was to have a lean and thin organization and depend more on technology for our day-to-day work or our planning, designing, even execution in the field. So already before COVID, we were almost well prepared for COVID. Our all activities which are on collaborative platforms like Common Data Environment or BIM, or our tendering processes which are on the electronic platform of Government of India, and our interaction with the funding agencies like ADB, NDB or AIB, everything was on electronic platforms. So immediately as the first wave struck the country, we started leveraging these technologies, which the team was already very conversant. So practically, when the first wave was there, the office working or the working with the designers, tendering process, all that did not get affected. But certainly our work got stopped at the field level. Second wave, again, same thing happened, because while physically things were not stopped and we kept on working, but the number of laborers in the field or engineers, they got little reduced. Fortunately, we were working in a way so that we had some float against the completion period given by the government. By using this particular float, even today I can say we are very comfortably placed to complete the project as scheduled or as targeted by the government. We could do this because we followed the COVID appropriate behavior, we followed the government guidelines, we had our own very detailed SOP. That has helped us. So practically not major impact on the project, but yes, it had impact on our team.
Right, Mr. Singh. Can you please also talk about the priority section of Delhi Ghaziabad Metro RRTS corridor, which is targeted to be commissioned by 2023? How has been the progress of the priority section so far, and how will it actually transform regional mobility in NCR? What do you feel?
You may be aware that this complete corridor, Delhi Ghaziabad Meerut, is about 82 kilometers, a little more than that. And out of this, about 17-18 kilometers of the priority section, which includes the Duhai Depot also, we are going to commission in March 2023. Now, This is a very, very tough target, given that the project itself got sanctioned in March 2019, and we could start work in June 2019. So within last 2 years or about 3 months, and two COVID waves stuck. All of us, we know how this pandemic has affected, and I explained to you also. There are other issues also in when you work in NCR. Due to pollution, the works were stopped for 46 days in 2019. But we are working on this target. Presently, almost all foundation substructure works of the priority sections have been completed. We have about 5 stations where work is going on. Here also, because you will appreciate that there is a lot of interface between various activities of this kind of complex technological systems. But fortunately, the way team has worked, the way it was planned, still we are on time, we are as per schedule, and we are confident of completing this particular priority corridor, which is almost 1/4 of the project in time. We are getting our trains manufactured at Savli in Gujarat. 100% trains are being manufactured in the country itself. While it was a big technological challenge because this kind of rolling stock has never been procured or manufactured in the country. All other system contractors, whether it is track, traction, or signaling or telecommunication, even these system contractors are also on schedule, and deployment has improved in last 2 weeks on all sites. So things are moving in the right direction, and we are very hopeful of completing the project maybe a little earlier than this schedule.
Thank you, Mr. Singh. You talked about use of technology. So my next question to you around the digital transformation and technology being used in this project. How are you actually leveraging cutting edge technology to enhance operational efficiency and providing hassle-free, safe travel experience to the commuters? And are you also planning to use emerging technology like artificial intelligence, cloud, AI, AR, VR, IoT, etc.?
Thanks, Arpit, that you asked this question. It is very close to my heart, and it has two parts. First part is use of technology during project execution itself, what we are doing. And second part of this is use of technology during the operations and for the comfort of the passengers who will be traveling on our system. So starting with the project execution part, as we started, we immediately switched to common data environment. This, which is a electronic platform where all communication, all documentation moves. So whether we are talking to a contractor or to our designers, suppliers, anybody, the communication has to take place on this electronic platform, which facilitates many things other than collaborative working. The second important thing which NCRTC adopted was BIM, Building Information Modeling. We create all our drawings design in this environment, which is a very sophisticated platform, and we develop all our building designs or structural designs in 3D. This facilitates not only very optimum economical design, but very fast collaboration between various experts, domain experts who work from various places within India and outside India also. So during COVID also, designers sitting in different countries could collaborate and finalize the drawings in time. The third important thing which we are doing is AMS, which is asset management system. So from BIM, we'll move directly to asset management system for operation and maintenance of various systems and technologies which we are going to use, whether it is rolling stock, whether it is signaling, telecommunication, or other things. Now, during operations, if you see, we are going to use a rolling stock which is having a design speed of 180 km/h. It has never been done in the country. The track which you are going to use for the systems are precast slab type tracks, which are fit for very high speeds, whether if you talk about bullet trains or very high speed trains running at 300, 350 km/h. The similar track we are going to use for our system, but custom design for our system for a design speed of 180 km/h. Signaling telecommunication, which is very, very important aspect for train control and train operation. We are going to use ETCS2, European Train Control System, for our trains to make, and we can run many trains one after another within 1 hour time. That means at very high frequency. On telecom side, if you see, we are going to use very sophisticated LTE technology for which will be the system backbone for signaling also. So the whether it is rolling stock, is a train control. On efficiency side, if you see, we are going to use automatic train operation. So ATO coupled with the ETCS2. And then on safety of the passengers, we are going to use PSG, platform screen doors, at all platforms. So there is no chance. You may remember there is one incident very recently that a boy, he jumped on the track with who was traveling with a blind mother. That kind of situation cannot happen on RRTS platform because all platforms are protected with platform screen doors.
Right. Thank you, Mr. Singh, for explaining the use of technology. And when you talk about PSD, so you are also contributing to the Prime Minister's vision of Atmanirbhar Bharat. As far as I know, NCRTC has partnered with Bharat Electronics Limited, BEL, to design and develop indigenous platform screen doors called PSDs for different rail-based systems in India and abroad. So can you please throw some light on this, how you are contributing to the Prime Minister's vision of Atmanirbhar Bharat, self-reliant India?
I'm happy that you have a lot of information about NCRTC. Actually, what we are doing is on PSD, till now PSD was being imported, whether it was being used for BRTS or metro situations. We thought that this particular component, which has never been manufactured in the country, we will not only develop it, we will manufacture it also. So we are working with BEL on a time-bound program to create a prototype. By this year end, we'll have this prototype with us. And next year, we have intentions to get 2-3 manufacturers developed to manufacture the PSDs in the country, which will be not only used by our system, but many other systems. And we know that very soon the country will be exporting this to other countries because we will have the economical design, which will be much cheaper than as compared to what is coming from European or other countries, Asian countries to the country. The second part is that we are working on a very thought out strategy to maximize the Indian manufactured or local content in our machinery, in our technology, in our project. So how we are going to achieve this? We have designed our packages in a way that wherever technologies are available within the country, we are going for those packages as funded packages. And wherever we know that these technologies are difficult to get developed within the country, we are forcing by using the provisions of Make in India clauses of DPIIT so that we get a lot of local content on those packages through this particular provision. So this strategy has worked well, and we are going to get almost more than 92% local content in the whole project, which is kind of a big achievement for us because such a sophisticated system has never been constructed in this country. And achieving 92 plus percentage of local content, we feel happy about it.
And India's first of its kind project too. Sir, when we are implementing such a huge project, so safety becomes an area of prime concern. And as far as figures are concerned, India ranks first in the number of road fatalities across the world with the most unsafe matrix of road level. So how are you planning to create a safe and reliable transport options for movement across the NCR? And can you please talk about the unique features of your project RRTS in terms of public transport, sustainability, green transport, clean transport, etc.?
So again, it has 2-3 aspects the question which you asked. The first I'll start with the safety of the trains itself. So these trains, while they will be running very fast, but we are creating a dedicated path for them. So there is no crossing with the road vehicles anywhere. Sometimes you may have heard that there are accidents with the railway system at level crossings, but that opportunity is not there at all. So these are completely segregated. Our tracks are either elevated or underground through tunnels. So that is number one part. Number two, any kind of chance of accident between the trains, that is also not there due to very sophisticated signaling system, as I was explaining you earlier. So trains are safe. Now the platform and interface with the other modes of transport. It will be very easy to access the trains. Now in our country, we have various metro systems. We know how easy it is to access a train. Unlike Indian Railway trains or a bus, is much easier to access a metro train. Similarly, our system will be very easy to access for anybody, whether child, lady, old person, or a Divyang. They can very easily reach to the platform and access the train, or they can deboard. And similarly, even in eventuality of fire or those kind of hazards, there are all arrangements being made for at stations or in tunnels, so that in any eventuality, in a rare eventuality, which is not going to happen, but still if it happens, so there are complete system to back, so that there is no injury to passengers, they can safely be evacuated. So that is one part of it, the system, the safety at system. But then security, the whole thing is covered by CCTV cameras, whether it is train or the stations, these are covered by CCTV cameras for providing good security to women. Third part is the interaction with the outside world. So wherever the buses will come or cars will come or taxis will come, at those locations also we are making arrangements so that this integration is very smooth. People can move from one system to another system. We are linking our system with Delhi Metro, all 7 lines. So that means there are a large number of stations where people will move from RRTS to Delhi Metro. These transfers should be very smooth, either through footway bridges or underpasses. There will be escalators, there will be staircases. People will have a lot of choice. There will be no cross passage through road vehicles. So it is completely segregated, level segregated, or the grade segregated transfers. So that provides it a lot of safety. Now you talked about the pollution and green. So these trains are electrified trains. So no fuel. So not only the train will not give any smoke, they will remove almost like 1 lakh road vehicles, private vehicles from existing roads, existing system. So the pollution by those vehicles will also be reduced. No pollution by trains, pollution reduced from the private vehicles. So we are going to use green electricity. We have entered into a MOU with the SECI, and we are going to get renewable energy, solar energy, for not only our running our system, but for our depots, residential complexes, offices, everything. So it will be very, very green system, very sustainable system. And we are going to use similar concept in our other corridors also. So the whole thing will be very sustainable from environmental viewpoint.
Right. This is, I think, great. You are also using a lot of renewable energy for running the system. Sir, when you are developing a fast, convenient, and affordable mode of transport such as RRTS that envisions to enhance the improve overall economic development of the region. It also opens up employment opportunities and provides access to better facilities for healthcare, education, and business prospects. Do you see any such things evolving since the project is at the nascent stage right now?
Yes, see, the biggest advantage of this kind of system is that it provides accessibility to a common man. See, even today, people are traveling from Meerut to Ghaziabad or to Modi Nagar from Delhi and vice versa in their cars, in the two-wheelers, taxis. But a common man cannot afford to travel to Delhi in comfort because this kind of commute is not available. It is very difficult to move a patient from Modi Nagar or Meerut to Delhi to AIIMS or Safdarjung or any super specialty hospital. But through our system, we are going to provide accessibility to common man. And we have a business class also. So people from who are using presently the car or taxi, they can also switch over to RRTS. The advantage of RRTS is that not only it is safe, comfortable, but it is fast also. This is 3 times faster than normal metro. Normal metro moves at a speed of say about 30-32 km per hour on an average commercial speed, whereas RRTS trains will move at a speed of more than 90 km per hour average with all stoppages. So that means you can move people faster in a safe condition, very comfortable condition, and we are providing facilities to move patients also. So a full stretcher can move in train. That facility is being provided. We have lift at all stations where these kind of big stretchers can move in the lift. So patients can be moved at a very fast speed from anywhere on the system to specialty or super specialty hospitals. So once you provide accessibility to education, if you provide accessibility to market, if you provide accessibility to healthcare, what happens that people would not like to stay in Delhi, or they will not be forced to come to Delhi, because now once they can access these facilities from a far off places, they would like to stay at a far off places and come for business or for economic activity to Delhi. And the same thing will happen from Delhi to Meerut also, or in between. So something which is concentrated in Delhi today will get decentralized. It will be at many places. So Delhi-like situation will be at many places all around in the metropolitan area or the what we call NCR. So, but this is going to generate a lot of economic activity, a lot of jobs, movement of people, and it will give comfort to families because now people can stay with their family wherever they want, and they can move to their jobs or wherever their office is there, or they can move for businesses where they want at a very high speed with safety and comfort.
This is, I think, definitely going to improve the quality of life of people because it is a safe, efficient, and sustainable mode of transport. Can you please share your overall experience of implementing this multimodal transport system for the NCR as of now?
Yeah, see, when I joined, I was the first employee of this company. So there was nobody, no office, nothing, no team. So this journey from that point to today, when we are very close to the completing the priority section and commissioning the priority section, and we are sure that we are going to complete the whole project of 82 km in a very short time. It is very satisfying. It had been very challenging. You can imagine that there was, as I told you, the whole project was to be developed, conceived, and in a way that it is economical, it is sustainable, it is easy to implement. See, if once you implement this kind of project, you know that there are large number of stakeholders. You have to take approvals from large number of people, whether it is tree cutting, land, or any other kind of NOC to work. Then there are ministries which give NOCs. There are local bodies which give NOCs. It is very complex and difficult. All of us, we know that this kind of project takes a lot of time. But we could do by using technology, by thinking, by mitigating the risk which may come in the project, and with very hard work being done by team NCRTC. We are in a position. When we started, the organization had no credibility, but today we are getting a lot of support from the concerned state governments. We are getting a lot of support from our ministry, BAUA. We are getting a lot of support from other ministries like railways, finance. A lot of support is coming to the project and to NCRTC. The local officials in Delhi, in UP, whether it is Meerut or Ghaziabad or UP government, so a lot of support is coming, and that is why we are able to finish the project or complete the project or commission the project in time. So this is very satisfying. Even if we plant a small tree or we construct a small house for ourselves, that gives a lot of satisfaction when it is completed. And we know whatever you do, there will be a lot of problem. But once you clear those problems, you remove those obstacles and achieve what you wanted to achieve, it is very satisfying. And I feel happy that this team and I am working, and we are getting this opportunity to work this project, which is going to change the life of About 5 crore people is staying in NCR.
How challenging has been your journey so far?
Extremely challenging. Extremely challenging, I can say. These projects are very complex. This is a very huge project. There were technological challenges. You can imagine if you are going to create a railway system. See, constructing a highway is a different thing because people bring their car and they run their car. So you're not to bother about petrol. You're not to bother about which car, what size, nothing. But in a railway system, you have to start from the conceptualization of how the system will function after 50 years. How many people will come? Because you cannot increase the size of a station tomorrow. You cannot increase the size of number of lines tomorrow. Once it is constructed, it is frozen. So we have to be very careful that we don't over provide and we don't under provide also. Because money is limited with us. So we have to come out with optimal solutions. But these solutions should not restrict the capacity of system tomorrow. We have to see where the even single penny is being spent. It should be spent in a place where we have a modular system where we can increase tomorrow, like the signaling system which we have introduced. Today, if I have to run 6 trains per hour, tomorrow if I have to run 20 trains, maybe after 50 years, then NCRTC will be able to run 20 trains per hour on that system. So we can increase the capacity as and when we want. So this is the technological part of it. But the second part is getting approvals. As I was telling you, we have more than 100 stakeholders between this place to Meerut. We have to follow all government guidelines. We have to work fast. COVID will come. Second wave of COVID will come. And then getting a team which works as required by the project or as required by the management of the company. So these are challenges. Getting a wherever you are working, you know your team. Connecting good people around you is very difficult. They may have their own priorities. So collecting a team which has as a group a common priority. Everybody is committed, working hard with a lot of integrity, highest levels of integrity and highest levels of commitment with a lot of passion. So I'm lucky to get all this, but certainly making all this happen is very challenging, which you will appreciate.
Team of great professional makes work easy. How have been you getting support from the private sector? Can you please also underline the role of your partners, those who are helping you implement these projects?
There also I'll say that I had been lucky on that front. We can take credit in saying that we designed our tenders and contracts in a way that we can get the work from our partners, private partners, but certainly getting good companies, getting companies which want to work. So we have got all the good companies. If I look the list of best consultants in the world, I got all of them wherever required. If you see the best consultants to support us in sustainability of the project or those kind of administrative issues or financial issues, I got best. I got multilateral funding, which is Asian Development Bank, AIB. They are supporting the project in their own way. They are giving us grant to get the consultants. They are giving us grant to develop technologies, understand technologies. Now, if you see the stakeholder side, from there also we are getting a lot of support. So overall, if you see, working in this frame and matrix, which is a very complex matrix, and the whole project is very complex jigsaw puzzle, you have to be very clear what will fit where. Because if, let us say, if I have to take a small patch of a parcel of land, a small patch in the whole project, if the location of that patch is not correct, let us say, and design is happening on daily, every day things are improving, this process itself take about 2 years to get approval of that land or purchasing that land. If after 2 years, if I come to know that this particular location which we had identified is not correct, it is out by 10 meters, you are gone. The whole project will come to a standstill for 2 years. So that is a challenge. That means you cannot sleep in the night. You have to constantly think. You have to constantly talk to your teammates. You have to constantly discuss and improve. And we have very simple understanding here, very simple philosophy in NCRTC. Whenever there is a confusion, we only think one thing, whether this decision which we are taking is in the interest of the commuter or not. Number one. Number two, whether this is going to make the project sustainable or not. If these two answers, if we get the right answers for these two questions, decision making is very easy.
Thank you, Mr. Singh, for highlighting these challenges. Going forward, what are your priorities for the current fiscal 21 and 22?
Presently, we have two sides of this. First is priority corridor, because next year we intend to start trials on this, and we'll make our best efforts if we can commission the priority corridor next year. But let us see how the COVID affects the project further. The second priority is in the balance section, which is beyond the priority section. Our work should move in a way so that immediately after commissioning of the priority section, we open these sections in a way that every 4 or 5 months or 6 months, we are able to add 20 to 30 kilometers so that we can complete the project by March 2025. So the whole team is working on that, and our private partners are also working on that, the contractors. You'll be happy to know that, as I was telling you, immediately after the COVID restrictions were opened by the governments, this week itself, our labor force has increased many folds. So we are working on that very closely, monitoring that we are able to start the commissioning of the project as planned.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Vinay Kumar Singh. It was really a great interaction with you. Our sincere thanks to you for accepting our invitation and making today's show wonderful. We wish you all the best for your future endeavors.
Thank you, ET, and thank you for giving this opportunity to explain your viewers what we are doing, how we are doing, how difficult it is, and why we need their support. Thank you.
And for the audience, the Digitech Dialogue series is an initiative of ET Government, the Economic Times. This is an interactive show with achievers and bureaucrats on different milestones in their digital transformation journey. In this series, senior government officials give an insight of digital innovations and use of new technologies by their department or ministry. Each week, we present a new guest and discuss the digital transformation journey and a future roadmap for digital India. Thank you so much.
Thank you.